Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Swiss. Continuing on with college football week 13. We got some action. I'm actually recording this before the Tuesday night game, so hopefully by the time you're watching this, I got Northern Illinois plus 2.5. I bet Western Michigan as well. Don't really like that one. Kind of have a bad feeling about it, but I did bet it. So hopefully by the time you're watching this, I hit those two bets. Yeah, we got two games for Wednesday night. Let's do it.
Welcome to The Swiss. The Swiss. Hey, get the Swiss.
First up, Buffalo on the road at Eastern Michigan. EMU, they're laying. Looks like to be pretty much a pick 'em. Actually, I see a +1. I see a -1. Pretty much a pick 'em here. Total sitting at 51.5, pretty much across the board. Let's get into this matchup, and this is an interesting one. Let's start with the Buffalo offense against the Eastern Michigan defense. At first glance, this looks like a pretty even matchup, right? Buffalo's offense sitting at 111th in OFEI. Pretty awful passing numbers, rushing numbers, not really anything here. 73rd in yards per carry, 112th in success rate per rush. Matched up against the Eastern Michigan defense that pretty much has red across the board. 118th in yards per play, 131st in yards per pass attempt allowed, 110th in success rate per dropback. So at first glance of the Buffalo offense against the Eastern Michigan defense, it's looking like trash versus trash. But hold on. This Buffalo offense seems to have figured something out, because in their last 5 games, we're seeing a complete different level of production. Through the first 5 games, they were averaging 18 points per game, 4.24 yards per play. They looked awful. In their last 5 games, they're averaging 35.8 points per game, 35.8, over 6 yards per play, 44.4% success rate, and there's a couple decent defenses in there. They played Toledo, solid defense, Ohio, Western Michigan, Ball State. Those are some bad defenses, but this Buffalo offense, no question, they are operating on a completely different level in the last handful of games. This kid, CJ Agbana, is good. He's earned my respect. 1,786 yards, 6.7 yards per attempt, 13 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. This kid is a walking big play. He's got a big-time throw rate. I bet the over in the Buffalo Ball State game, watched every snap of that game. It felt like the dude was airing it out every single play. I mean, every single time I looked up, it was another deep pass, and he was hitting them. He was connecting on them, too. I believe the final score of that game was like 51-48. Went way over. Look at the Buffalo passing numbers in the last 4 games. This came out of nowhere. 260 passing yards per game, 48.7% success rate per dropback, 7.5 yards per attempt. Like I said, a lot of deep passes. This explosive passing attack for Buffalo came out of nowhere. Here's the problem. Look at the projected weather report for this game. 33 degrees, which is expected. I mean, it's Michigan in November. That's not weird. Chance of rain. Now, it's supposed to rain all day. Might stop before the game, so maybe on the rain. We're not sure. Look at the wind. 17-mile-an-hour winds for a guy that throws a lot of deep passes. Check this out. 18.7% of his pass attempts this season have been deep passes. He throws the ball downfield a lot. Really don't know if I trust those big plays through the air to be there in 17-mile-an-hour winds and a chance of rain, probably a wet field. Don't like that. Now, the good news for Buffalo is they can also run it. In the last 5 games, we've seen the offensive production rise. Yes, a big part of that is the passing attack and the big plays downfield, but they're also averaging just under 200 rushing yards per game, over 5 yards per carry in that span. So this is also an offense that can run the ball, and Eastern Michigan can't defend the run for shit. In their last 5 games, they're allowing over 6 yards per carry as a team, 43.9% success rate per rush, over 205 rushing yards per game. So Buffalo should be able to run the ball in this one either way, but I'm a little worried here because the big surge in offensive production we've seen from Buffalo recently, a big part of that are those big downfield passes from Agbana. Not sure if we can count on them being there in this game. But what about the matchup on the other side? We got Eastern Michigan's offense against the Buffalo defense. Kind of like the other side. I mean, looking like an even matchup here. Eastern Michigan offensively 105th in OFEI. Buffalo's defense 104 in DFEI. So looking pretty evenly matched here. Here's what worries me about Eastern Michigan's offense in this game. They throw the ball a lot. They're 50th in pass frequency, 2nd in pace. They throw the ball a lot. They move at a super fast pace. Very reliant on Cole Snyder making plays through the air. 6.4 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Now, they're not quite as reliant on the downfield pass like Agbana. Cole Snyder does throw some deep balls, but not as many as Agbana. But still, this Eastern Michigan offense as a whole is more reliant on the pass than Buffalo is. I mean, Buffalo likes to run the ball. They just throw a lot of deep passes, or at least recently they have. So what I just said about the weather potentially being an issue for Buffalo and Agbana throwing those deep passes, the weather might actually affect the Eastern Michigan offense more because they're actually more reliant on the pass than Buffalo is. Yes, not as many downfield throws, but they throw the ball more frequently than Buffalo does. And it's a shame because this would be a beautiful matchup for Eastern Michigan. If it wasn't for the weather, I would love to take a sharp stab on Eastern Michigan here. Buffalo can't defend the pass for shit. In their last 4 games, 304 passing yards allowed per game, 9.7 yards per attempt, 51.8% success rate per dropback. We just saw Samanza and the Ball State offense have no problems putting up points against Buffalo. Game was 45-45 and went to overtime. They ended up with 48 points. This is not a good pass defense. And like I said, Eastern Michigan likes to throw the ball. Just a little worried about the weather. And speaking of the weather, I mentioned how Buffalo should be able to also run the ball because Buffalo likes to run the ball and they're capable of running the ball. Eastern Michigan really can't. In their last 5 games, they're averaging 3.6 yards per carry as a team, 135.2 rushing yards per game, success rate per rush under 40%. So they don't have a run game they can fall back on like Buffalo does. So the weather is making me lean towards Buffalo. Personally, I would love to fade Buffalo after that shootout overtime win. Bad pass defense going on the road against an Eastern Michigan offense that can throw the ball. I like the matchup here. I like the spot for Eastern Michigan. It's the weather, man. So as far as betting this game, my pick would be Eastern Michigan, but I have not placed this yet because of the weather. If when we get closer to kickoff, I'm recording this on Tuesday afternoon, well, actually Tuesday evening. If we get closer to kickoff, we'll talk about it on the live show. Maybe if the weather doesn't look quite as bad, I make a play on Eastern Michigan, but this might end up being a pass. Eastern Michigan or pass next game. Ohio Bobcats on the road at Toledo. Toledo laying looks like 2. I do see a couple 1.5s out there. Total sitting at 44.5 across the board. Let's get into this one, and we'll start with the Ohio offense against the Toledo defense. Pretty good matchup here. FEI ratings have Toledo's defense at 47th, Ohio's offense at 89th. But this Ohio offense, if you've been following MAC football, you know they got red hot. The last 3 games since Parker Navarro got his starting job back, this Ohio offense is operating on a different level. As we know, this is an offense that wants to run the ball. They're 7th in the country in yards per carry, 41st in success rate per rush, 47th in effective rush. They should have their hands full in this one, though, because Toledo's defense has been pretty strong against the run this season. 20th in yards per carry allowed, 36th in success rate per rush, 65th in effective rush. Now, I mentioned the last 3 games for Ohio's offense, and you could see last 3 games against Buffalo, Kent State, and Eastern Michigan. Granted, all 3 of those teams have bad defenses, and that's important to take note of. They're averaging 224 rushing yards per game, 5.74 yards per carry, 48.6% success rate per rush. If you look at the game before that, they were on the road at Miami of Ohio, who probably has the best defense in the conference, either them or Northern Illinois, and they were struggling to run the ball. This was before Parker Navarro got his job back, his starting quarterback job. Just 3.33 yards per carry in that game. So it's important when we're talking about the last 3 games where this Ohio offense just out of nowhere is red hot. It's important to take note that they've played some lesser defenses. Toledo, as we know, one of the stronger defenses in the conference, maybe top 4 MAC defense here. But the thing is, with this Toledo defense, they've actually been significantly stronger against the pass recently, and I like this sample size, the last 4 games. Northern Illinois, Bowling Green, Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan. The reason I like it is we have 2 offenses that throw the ball and 2 offenses that run the ball. So kind of a mixed sample size here. You can see Toledo's been much stronger against the pass. 5.7 yards per pass attempt allowed, success rate per dropback under 40%. Their numbers against the run are actually just okay. Just over 4 yards per carry, 43.4% success rate per rush, 163 rushing yards per game. So in the last 4 games, this Toledo run defense has been pretty mediocre at best. And you can see here as a whole, this Toledo run defense just seems to be trending in the wrong direction. In the first 5 games, they were allowing just 2.8 yards per carry, 33.7% success rate per rush, under 88 rushing yards allowed per game. In their last 5 games, these numbers are looking pretty average. In fact, slightly below average. And we just look at their opponents in the last 4 games. They haven't exactly been through the gauntlet in terms of a tough schedule. So I'm not sure how much I trust in this Toledo defensive front right now. And like I said before, this Ohio offense has just caught fire. Parker Navarro was benched in the 7th game of the season. I think he sat out 1 game, got his starting job back, and the last 3 games since he got his starting job back, they're averaging 41 points per game, close to 50% success rate. The passing attack has even showed up, 6.85 yards per play as a team. This offense just looks completely different in the last 3 games since Parker Navarro got his starting job back. Granted, These were against some lesser defenses, but still, this offense just seems to be steamrolling people right now. So even though the Bobcats are on the road here against a Toledo defense that's pretty good, I still expect them to score points because they seem to be on another level right now. I trust in this offense right now, so I think they're going to score points in this game. But what about the matchup on the other side? Let's take a look at the Toledo offense against the Ohio defense. Now on this side, according to FEI ratings, Ohio has the edge. They're 75th in DFEI compared to 108th in OFEI for Toledo's offense. As I'm sure you already know, this Toledo offense really struggling to run the ball this season. 109th in yards per carry, 125th in success rate per rush, 117th in effective rush. They've been very reliant on the pass. Passing numbers are just okay, 61st, 52nd, and 81st. Here's the problem for Toledo's offense here. I mentioned how the Ohio offense, since Parker Navarro got his job back, they're playing at a different level, 41 points per game. But weirdly, Parker Navarro getting his starting job back seems to have also motivated the defense, because in those same last 3 games, they're allowing 8.7 points per game, 30.9% success rate, 3.89 yards per play. The defense is also playing out of this world. Yes, there's a game against Kent State in there, but Buffalo, they've been scoring points. Eastern Michigan, they're capable of scoring points. So it's not just the Ohio offense that seems to be on a rampage right now. The defense seems to have turned it up as well. They're playing great football. Ohio's playing by far their best football of the year right now heading into this game. And the Toledo offense, you can almost say the opposite about. 5.37 yards per play, success rate under 38%, 26.3 points per game is actually not bad. Now, yes, one of those games was against Northern Illinois, elite MAC defense there. Bowling Green's defense hasn't been that great, and Eastern Michigan and Central Michigan, those are a couple bad defenses. So they can't use the excuse of, oh, we played some tough defenses. You played one tough defense. This Toledo offense isn't playing its best right now. So you might be thinking, all right, let's go hammer Ohio then. And I can't say I disagree with you if you're going to bet the Bobcats, if you're riding the hot streak. I get it. I do have an angle for you, though, if you're trying to back Toledo here. This is an offense that's relying on the pass, as we talked about, 44th in passing frequency. Ohio runs a ton of zone coverage, and I mean a ton. 8th most in college football, 8th in zone frequency. Toledo's got excellent numbers throwing the ball against zone coverage. They've actually struggled a little bit against man coverage. So at home against an Ohio defense that's going to come in and run pretty much only zone coverage, it might not be a bad spot for Tucker Gleason. I think he's going to complete some throws. I think Toledo's going to be able to move the ball as well, which is why when it comes to betting this game, as much as I want to take Ohio and ride this hot streak, I think the better look here is the over. What is it at 44 and a half? Let me check. 44 and a half across the board. Yeah, I'll bet that as soon as I'm done recording. I'm going to bet that. Give me the over, 44 and a half. As far as a side, I'd slightly lean towards Ohio because they're playing hot right now, but I like the over more.
So after I finished recording, I went to go place that over bet, realized I forgot to check the weather in this game, and although there's no rain, 21 mile an hour winds, 22 mile an hour winds, even more wind in this game than the other one. So I guess I would lean towards the Ohio side now, the better rushing attack. If the wind's going to be a detriment to the passing attack, I guess I'll lean towards the rushing attack. I don't know. I mean, I'm a little discouraged right now. Western Michigan looked like trash tonight. They're getting beat by Central Michigan. Northern Illinois is down 2 touchdowns. It's looking like I'm going to have an 0-2 start to the week. So I guess if the weather is going to be like this and the wind's going to be like this, I guess Ohio would have to be the pick. They're the better rushing attack. So give me Ohio. We'll talk about it on the live show. I don't know.
Live show, 4 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go through this game. I'll bring on guests. We'll go through the NBA slate, college basketball, all that. If you're able to make it, would love to see in the comments. If you'd like to see all the bets I personally have open, head over to KyleKirms.com and click on open bets. You'll see all mine as well as everyone else on the staff here. Let's have ourselves a great one. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, I won some college football bets on Tuesday night. Games are starting right now. Please remember to bet responsibly. Talk to you in the Discord.